I love a bit of Aussie rock. No, I'm not talking about cold chisel and AC/DC. I'm talking about in the garden. And this garden is a perfect example of how good it can look. This is a pretty special environment. And on a day like today, we'll call it paradise. But it gets some pretty harsh elements. Lots of heavy rain and even the sea spray, which means salt. Now, if you used a normal paver and laid this driveway with it, it'd absorb all that salt and they'd look pretty old and pretty cruddy pretty quick. But because this is a natural river stone, they've picked the flat face of it and laid it into a mortar mix, and it gives it an instant age. It's got the keystones down the side, so it's structurally strong, but really this is how they've laid floors for thousands of years. Back in Roman times, this would have been the main street. I love it. The bulk of the hard landscaping was done in just 2 days. They started with a blank canvas, and then they had big trucks, big rocks, and big cranes. So the stone works as a retaining wall, but it also protects this little garden bed from those harsh winds and salt. These plants will be bank binders with all their roots holding the soil in, and they'll work as a retainer as well. When you look at these stairs, you could easily be mistaken that someone sat here with a chisel and a hammer to get them all nice and flat. But the reality is they're lava stone. And so as the lava comes out of the volcano, it goes layer upon layer. When you quarry it, it splits the same way and you get these nice flat beds. So the only skill for the tradesman is how to lay them so that they're comfortable to walk on. There's been no shaping. Mother Nature did that. Come on, mate. This place is next to a bit of a reserve, and I like the fact that this garden just blends into it. The orange stones that are here and over there are actually existing sandstone from the area, but the new stone, which is a limestone, doesn't look out of place. In fact, nothing looks out of place. The whole house and garden become one because the same stone that's on the driveway are the feature walls. Placing the stones around the tower was such intricate work, tradesmen could only do a square metre a day. The raw material is pretty cheap to buy, but the labour costs, it's getting up there. A coastal garden has to be planted perfectly because of the harsh environment, but a rock garden also needs to be thought about as well. So I like the fact that they've got the little cousinets, the birthday candles, and lots of native grasses. On the coast, plants kind of have to hug the ground, so the elements can go over the top of them, and that gives it that natural look. A little later on, we're going to try our own little rock garden, and I reckon some of these plants will be the stars there too. I want to build a garden that looks a little like what we've seen. I've chosen 3 great big whoppers, and the best thing about it is I won't have to touch them between now and putting them in position. Sit, boo-boo, sit. That's the big rock taken care of, but I'm going to need a few more gems if I'm to build a rock garden. And split sandstone like this is exactly like that lava stone. You can see that you get the natural flat bits, which will make great steppers. And I need some. And that is great service. Thank you, sir. See you on the job. Daddy! I know it's bigger and shinier than my ute, but what about a dog being loyal? Danny, you've changed. And so's the weather. Hey, Greg, come on. Come on, you can do it. Yeah! And here's my garden. It's a corner block. It's one of those funny gardens. It's not the front of the house, that's around there, but you want it to present well to the street. For the added bonus, I can get the truck nice and close. So that crane is going to lift the stone, put them into positions where I need them, and I won't even have to put down the umbrella. Before the rocks go in, all this has to come out. Go team! That's the easiest sculpture / bench I've ever put into place. Now I'm going to put another one here, and then in the corner as a real feature, I'm going to stand one up on its edge. Seriously, how could I stay mad at that face? Oh, you're so cute. You're so cute. I've managed to stay clean until now, but all that's about to change. So I'm going to put a path in here that doesn't have to be super practical. It's going to be steppers out of this split stone. Do I need to mark it out? Not really. And I'm going to lay them on mud. That way, they won't move. Now, to give the garden a bit of scale, because we've used such large pieces of sandstone, I'm putting in a couple of decent-sized trees. These are water gums. This one's called Luscious. They get to about 6, 7 metres tall. They've got a nice shape to them. With any luck, this branch will grow over and sort of shade this and tie everything together. And then across the front here, we've got a little woolly bush. Now, this one's called Silver Streaks. It'll get to about 1.5 metres high. It's not going to give you total privacy from people walking past, but it is going to green the joint up. Really happy with the quality of the plant stock. There's our little birthday candles. It looks better than the ones we saw in the established garden. Now, that's quite an expensive plant, so I've really put it in a prominent position that you're going to see when you walk through this whole garden. But what a showstopper. And my little cousin-its, they look great in the garden I showed you earlier, and they look great in this one too. Well, these guys want to get to about 1 metre round, so where I've placed them out, they're probably a little bit too close to the path. But as everyone walks on the path, they'll just be naturally pruned. It'll soften the edges of the stone and look perfect. Now, these guys here are Gymea lilies. They're usually planted as a specimen for their architectural form. But if you clump them up like this, they kind of use each other as scaffold, and they get a bit taller, and they can get to sort of 2.5 metres tall. If they get up there, it'll be a perfect screen for the bedroom window. If you want a plant in your front yard that's going to stop traffic, think about this one. It's a Euphorbia called fire sticks. How good is it? It looks like coral that's growing above the ground, not in the barrier reef. Now, it does want to get to nearly 5 metres tall, but the good news is you can cut it back as much as you want, and the cuttings, they'll take like that because they're a succulent. Now, fire sticks doesn't mean that you can rub 2 of them together and start fires. It's also known as the pencil cactus, but you can't draw with it either. Now, this garden is anything but formal, but it's still balanced. I've got 2 stones here laid down flat, balanced out by the one up there that's standing on edge. You've got 2 water gums here at each end, and to screen the whole thing off and give it a backdrop, just like the colour of the house, I've got some blueberry ash, and they're going to screen off the neighbours. Around the heavily planted areas, forest fines. It'll break down and improve the soil. And in the sparser areas and through the steppers, crushed granite. Now, I'm just using the decade granite or crushed granite as a mulch. I'm not worrying about compacting it or anything like that. In fact, I want the water to go through it to water all of these plants. There isn't a garden in this suburb that looks like this, and it's pretty simple. You don't have to be a highly skilled landscaper. You just need to be able to organise that truck to drop a few things in the right place. The big stones, the steppers and the crushed granite are the start, but then picking a few plants that are a little bit different and out of the box make this garden a real talking point.